It was that. It was very disappointing to all of us.
Biden referred to Donald Trump 13 times, but never once said his name.
Former President Donald Trump is commenting on Biden's State of the Union. Fox's Brian Yinnes has more from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Former President Trump posted on social media more than 50 times giving a live play-by-play of President Biden's State of the Union address last night. But Trump's reaction to Biden's speech is best summarized by his exclusive comments to Fox Digital, in which he said this, quote, "He was angry, mentally disturbed, and misrepresenting a lot of the facts concerning almost every subject he discussed. He was very angry, and that's also a symptom of a certain type of problem, senility."
Trump and Biden will both be in Georgia on Saturday. Thanks to a bill passed by the West Virginia Senate, 8th grade students in West Virginia will now be required to watch a video that shows the development of a baby inside the womb. Bob Kellogg has this story.
The instructional video produced by Live Action uses groundbreaking animation that puts fetal development in terms kids can understand, according to LifesideNews.com. Christian cultural analyst Janice Krause gives Baby Olivia a raving review.
To think of the opposition opposing something like this when it is scientifically accurate, they can't say anything against it other than their prejudices.
Krause says any opponents never come up with any specific complaints. Being a former teacher, she says the 8th grade is perfect for showing Baby Olivia.
It's a time when the students are focusing on getting more mature. And, they've passed the elementary school where I think it would be inappropriate. But at the 8th grade, they're forming opinions. They're becoming adults. They are not adults, but they are becoming adults.
In addition to West Virginia, Krause reports Kentucky is also considering putting it in their schools. I'm Bob Kellogg.
South Carolina has joined the ranks of states permitting firearms to be carried openly. Fox reporter Jack Callahan.
Governor Henry McMaster signing into law a bill that allows anyone who can own a gun legally to carry it in public in South Carolina, something gun rights groups have been pushing for nearly a decade. The state will still offer concealed carry permits, but they are no longer required. The law also increases penalties for people who carry guns in places where they are banned, like schools and courthouses, or those who commit crimes while they are armed, whether they use the gun or not. The governor says now law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges can keep career violent criminals behind bars where they belong.
And 2 Ohio lawmakers are sponsoring a bill that seeks to ease the financial burden of law enforcement agencies that will have to replace their marijuana-sniffing dogs. That's because Ohio voters approved a plan in November to legalize recreational marijuana use, and it makes replacing the trained canines one unintended consequence. Find more news on AFN.net.
Well, good evening, everyone, everywhere, and special greetings to everyone, no matter where you are, and especially for those that are seated in heavenly places in Jesus, our Messiah. You're listening to Far Out with me, Nick at Night, and we're going to hang out for a while. Good to see you there, Shelley. And Darkeja in the chat room says, I can't find your account on Skype. Well, if you look for my name, Nicholas Arthur, as it's spelled on the screen here, you should find me. I don't think there's anyone else with that spelling or that name. At least I haven't met anybody. So there are a few people that spell their name Nicholas like that, but not Nicholas Arthur. So, yeah, anyway, take care of that. And anyway, we are live if you're listening at 9 p.m. on Friday night. It's another Friday night, and all we got is each other. Good to see you there, Bob from PA, right? No bucks in the chat room. All right, I guess we'll start out, as like we usually do, with the lighter side. That is, and we're going to speak about, well, a lot of things in the news today. So we got a lot of stuff, especially what happened yesterday. Well, I guess pretty much what we expected would happen yesterday is what happened yesterday. So we definitely want to talk about the State of the Union. Yes, we definitely want to do that. Do something here first. Yeah. Okay. Just making a few adjustments here. Have to give me a break when I'm my own producer. All right. Here we have it. The Babylon Bee. Yes, all these last minute adjustments here. Oh, yes. Well, I guess they're going to talk about the same thing that we are. And that is 10 achievements Biden covered during the State of the Union. You know, because that's what presidents do. They, in their State of the Union, they talk about all of the things that they've accomplished in the last year, since they do it once a year. So let's see what Joey has to say here. Another State of the Union address is upon us. As frightening as that may be to hear, it is important for the American people to hear from the president and find out all the things that have been accomplished in the last year. Read more. Okay, there he is. State of the Onion. And here are the top 10 accomplishments Biden covered during his speech. 1. Creation of several brand new words. This will be accomplished just during the speech itself. Number 2. A finalization of the Louisiana Purchase. He will announce he hammered out the deal with Napoleon last week. Yeah, that's right. Number 3. The Mexico-Egypt border has been totally secured, and there are no problems down there whatsoever. But if there is a problem, it's the MAGA Republicans' fault. So there you have it. Yes, indeed, the MAGA Republicans' fault. Number 4, war with Samoa has been averted. Diplomacy has won out despite Biden's primary loss on Tuesday. And number 5, unprecedented financial security for Ukrainian oligarchs. We can't allow these dear people to face retirement without a solid nest egg. And number 6, imported millions of new voters. It's a brand new America, folks. And number 7, raised dementia awareness. Americans have never been so keenly aware of the signs of senility. Number 8, record number of military personnel wearing skirts. Some of them are even women. Number 9, earned a gold star for going potty in the toilet 3 days in a row, breaking his personal record. Very good, Joey. Very good. Number 10, because the first president in history, became the first president in history to bring the country to the brink of civil war, Revolutionary War, and World War simultaneously. The history books are being rewritten right before our eyes. Yes, indeed. So that's That's the Babylon's Bee's take on the State of the Union. What else we got? Anybody watch that last night or any of it? Shelley says, it's obvious Joe was on hard speed that night. Crystal meth or something. Yeah, that's pretty much the going opinion. Yeah. So I agree. I didn't watch the So Too. I have a bad heart. Yeah, he's not a friendly character. That Joe Biden character. Well, let's see. Oh, we got more. Dementia meds meet their match. So then we have a picture of Joe Biden at the podium for his State of the Union, speaking of dementia meds and methamphetamines. See what else we got here. Oh, that's not it. Okay, Elon Musk falls into crippling poverty after single meal at Five Guys. I have no idea what that means. Five Guys. Elon Musk falls into crippling poverty. I guess they're talking about the cost of eating out. Have any of you guys gone out to eat lately? Yeah, I don't make a habit of it. I really can't afford it. That's right. Since $20 worth of groceries doesn't go as far as it used to. Remember when I used to fill up a cart completely and, yeah, it would be like $40. Now, it's a little different, is it not? Okay, moving on here. Let's see. Man sitting in first class for first time pretends he totally knows what you're supposed to do with hot towel. Maybe he'll figure it out. I've never flown first class myself. Woman kicked out of Walmart for not wearing pajama bottoms. I guess that's a thing at Walmart. Pajama bottoms and flip-flops, right? Especially if you're in California. Next, White House explains security fence around Capitol to keep its president from wandering off grounds during speech. Finally, it came up with a good excuse for putting that fence around the Capitol. Yeah. To keep the president from wandering off. There you go. Biden opened State of the Union by saying hello to Dianne Feinstein. I guess, did I notice that or not? Next, a Midwestern town considers adding fourth crushingly mediocre Mexican restaurant. Yeah, Midwestern town. The town near where I live is like that too. They have a number of mediocre, but they're all better than pretend Mexican food like Taco Bell. There you go. Next, aides fitting marionette strings to Biden in preparation for State of the Union. Boy, talk about marionette strings. It seems like every Democrat in the audience had marionette strings. They all jumped up at the same time and clapped at the same time. Yeah, and cheered and whistled and they were just all so very delighted. Yes, and everything that old Broken Joe had to say. Yes. While all of the Republicans were sitting on their hands throughout the whole thing, unless somebody else spoke, there might have been a few other people to clap for besides Joe Biden, but when he, it's something to observe there. Next, Biden proudly announces he has eliminated junk fees for all migrants staying in New York hotels. Junk fees. Got to get rid of them junk fees. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, moving on. Oh, that's it. Babylon B is done for the day. Now we can get to the real news. Let's see, we got any comments, questions? We got no bucks in the chat room. Didn't watch the SO State of the Union, SO2. Like all these acronyms today. Everything's an acronym. Well, let's see. What do we got next? We have not the bee, but maybe we'll save the not the bee for something else. There was something else I wanted to look at here. Should we go to, let's see, redacted or religious news service? I did see something here I thought would be, and I look at the way they stretch these pictures out. This one says, blowing up the evangelical code. Whatever. But I saw this here. In the name of the Mother, Daughter, and Holy Spirit, Catholic women advocate change. Yes. In the harlot church, nothing surprises me there. It almost surprises me when I see it happen in so-called Protestant churches. But the ones that happens in, they don't really call themselves Protestant anymore. But the Catholic Church calls everyone else Protestant except them. Yes, I remember that growing up. Let's see. Women meeting in Rome this week to promote female leadership in the Catholic Church are challenging the hierarchy's resistance to change and its theological emphasis on natural gender divisions. Yeah, we don't want no natural gender divisions. So look at that coming to a Catholic church near you. They're going to join the Unitarian Church and Unitarian Universal Church and other churches that used to be Protestant and have started accepting women pastors and lesbian marriages and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes. Let's see, what do we got going here next? 9 Jehovah's Witnesses convicted of extremism for practicing faith in Russia. So Russia is not putting up with any extremists in their country, and that should make the true Antichrist really mad. Now, I know most of the Orthodox churches, at least the Eastern Orthodox, they're pretty much as, idolatrous as the Roman Catholic Church. Now, I don't know about the Russian Orthodox. Haven't looked into it. And really haven't looked into the Eastern Orthodox. I've just heard things. But I'm not consider going so-called Orthodox. There's true Orthodoxy, and then there's that call themselves Orthodox. So, and let's see. Confusion over the status of DOJ investigation into the SBC, Southern Baptist, has strained already tense relationships between abuse survivors and the nation's largest Protestant denomination. Jerusalem Palestinians prepare for Ramadan amid holy months, uneasy politics. And I don't suggest a religion news service. They are very, very woke. But I subscribe to them just to keep an eye on them. And whenever they send me, because they like to ask for money too, and I go, nah, I'm not supporting you. But I do like to keep my eye on you. That's for sure. Good to see you, Blackbird, in a chat room there from Falkland, BC. Well, I'm doing fine. I hope everyone else is. Let's see, what else we got here? Well, let's look at our redacted news. Happy Thursday. Oh, well, it's Friday. I didn't get their newsletter today, and since I didn't read yesterday's yesterday, I'll read it today. Meet Bayo, the dog influencer who travels the world in luxury. He has over 75 pieces of clothing in his doggy wardrobe. So we have dog influencers. Well, maybe people are making money on YouTube having their dog be an influencer. But traveling the world in luxury must be very lucrative to be an influencer on some whatever media. Maybe it's TikTok, who knows which one. Oh, Instagram, that's what it says down here at the bottom. I've never looked at Instagram. I don't have an Instagram. Don't know what it is. It's just another social media that I haven't looked at and really don't want to look at. I got too much to do already. That's the truth. Turn that thing on. Let's see. See if we got something here. Your name and where you're calling from. You're on the air. Cat got your tongue, huh? What can you say? Yeah. In case you missed it, the Bank of Canada announced that it will hold interest rates at 5%. Hold them? Oh, from going up? Yeah, I have no idea. Does that mean they're going to pay 5% or that's what they're charging? I wonder. Well, I don't wonder enough to look at the article. Probably holding them from going up higher, the interest rates they're charging. And then what do they pay now at the bank? Like 0.5%? Something like that on your bank account? I remember when you used to be able to earn 5% on your bank account and savings accounts. Those days are long gone, aren't they? Let's see. The armorer in the movie Rust was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter and could face up to 18 months in prison. Yes, how did those bullets get in that gun? Still wonder about that today. I mean, how do you even do that? How do you even make that mistake? Okay, also, in case you missed it, Russian and Belarusian tennis players will be allowed to compete in the 2024 Olympics as neutral players. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's neutral players. Just can't admit they're Russian. You guys are neutral. Right. Because we're at war with NATO. I mean, NATO's at war with them. All right. The Defend and Guard Act passed on the Texas Republican primary this week. The act would prohibit a state from sending its National Guard on missions unless Congress formally declares war. Yes, we talked about that before. So it looks like it passed in Texas. It was on their Republican primary ballot. Texas. Oh, it was on Republican. Don't they have the Democratic primary at the same time? Just different ballots. Why would just the Republicans? I don't think they meant that. I just think they just meant the primary ballot. But because, yes, definitely the Republicans would pass it. Okay. Let's see. Next, New York Governor Kathy Hochul has deployed 1,000 National Guard troops to New York City subways to carry out bag checks. Bag checks? What's in your bag? What's in the bag? I mean, what's the problem? I have a friend who used to take his pet boa in his backpack on the subway for vet checks. So they'd better beware. What are they checking for, I wonder? I guess that if you're getting on the subway, I guess they have a right to check your bag. It's like getting on a plane or something, I guess. I don't know. But if they have too much crime, but 1,000 National Guards troops to New York subways. Well, at least you got a governor that's doing something. Yes, and that's the state governor sending the National Guard troops to New York City's subways. Very interesting. And here finally, in case you missed it, a new report shows that allowing Ukraine into the European Union would cost 136 billion euros. I think that's euros. That symbol. 130, and I don't know what the difference between a euro and a pound and a dollar is anyway. I think dollars are worth less than euros or pounds. And then Canadian dollars are worth even less. Yeah. Next, gold is, up 41% today. $2,156. And gold, it says, is down $24, but it was up. It was $23 a couple days ago. Well, the trend is up anyway. Bitcoin up, and the other things that numbers don't mean anything to me, but they say they're all up, whatever they are. Dow, Standard & Poor's, and NASDAQ. So, like I said, I looked at it once, and I thought it looked like gambling to me, so wasn't too interested in it. Let's see. All right, well, we got some more news items to cover when we get back from these messages. You're listening to me. I'm Nicholas, and this is Far Out with Nick at Night. And not just me, but you. Yes. I want you to take part. Comments, questions, suggestions. You could Skype in or call in, or you can text me right there at that number below my chin. And I can read it right over there on the screen quickly. So, okay. I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place and time in prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, Deconstructing Pre-Tribulation Dispensational Futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
We're back. We're on. Okay, Ukraine is going underground. So Ukraine is digging in, literally. The Wall Street Journal reports that in the absence of taking back any territory in eastern Ukraine, the military is digging trenches and building fortresses. President Zelensky called for accelerated construction and urged private companies and donors to get involved. They're calling for $800 million for this purpose. This doesn't look like a very good investment when you consider the rate at which Russia is destroying Ukrainian military aid. It says, watch these U.S.-supplied HIMARS go up in smoke, and these U.S.-supplied Abrams tanks too. So I want to check out these pictures here. Let me see if these are any good. This is from RT.com. One of the U.S. supplied systems has been destroyed by a Russian high-precision strike drone footage, and it's just spitting. Yes. Okay. Oh, well, wait a minute. Here we have it. U.S.-made HIMARS destroyed. 40 km from front line in Ukraine. There it is. So this is like millions of dollars worth of American money going up in smoke in the Ukraine. The HIMARS stands for something. I forget what they're called. HIMARS. Let's see. Does it tell you what they're? HIMAR launchers, widely regarded as a U.S.-made platform. The 300, similar niche to the HIMARS. Okay. That's a high-precision, long-range strikes. So anyway, munitions, American munitions going up in smoke in the Ukraine. And don't we just want to give them more stuff, as the president said? That's the first thing. The State of the Union was not the State of the Union, but the State of the Ukraine. That's the way it started out, as the State of the Ukraine. That much is, let's see, also Abrams tanks, too. Yeah, there's a picture of it. And yes, indeed. So Russia's showing off their ability to blow up Abrams tanks. Yep. And I forget how much those are a copy. Everything's millions of dollars because of all the graft and corruption in the military and the munitions today. Yes, they don't put out bids to see who's going to supply the most weapons for the lowest price. Why should they? They have an unlimited amount, unlimited funds. What they can't tax you for, they'll just print out of thin air and tax you by inflation. That's right. That's what they're doing. But Ukraine is digging in. Let's see. Bloomberg has reported that President Biden is considering sending money from the U.S. Army to Ukraine in the absence of more congressionally approved funds. Well, he can't do that either. He's reallocating funds. The president can't do that legally. The Supreme Court just told him you can't take funds that were set aside by the Congress to build the wall, and he's going to use them for something else. He told him you can't do that. You're not in charge of the purse strings, buddy. You have to get along with both houses before you get any money to do whatever you want with. But look at all that money they're spending on the border. He's asking for more. That's what he said last night. He said, all they got to do is give us more money so that we can process the illegal aliens faster. That's the problem. It's not that, millions and millions of people are pouring into the country. It's just so we can't process them fast. That's the disaster at the border to him. That's a catastrophe that the people are lining up there. And he's saying we could give them court dates months out instead of years out in advance if we had more money. Yes, don't you want to spend more money bringing more illegals in faster? That's basically what he said last night, right after he got done telling us that we needed to send more money to the Ukraine. Yeah, gave us the State of the Ukraine message. Okay, let's see. The Russian Defense Ministry says that it took 4 months for them to gain 5.6 miles of territory, and now they have gained 3 more miles in just the last week alone. Now is a good time as ever to revisit that peace treaty and stop the fighting. I would think so. More sources, including Wall Street Journal, have now confirmed that the peace treaty did exist in the spring of 2022 and that it was tanked by the West because they favored continuing the war. Yes, we have warmongers in our government. Okay, Trump sides with Israel. Well, big surprise there. Yes, no surprise at all. After months of silence on the issue, former President Trump said that Israel has to finish the problem with its attack on Gaza, confirming that he's firmly in Israel's camp. This is not surprising. Former President made many pro-Israel moves during his administration, such as moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, solidifying the U.S. stance that Jerusalem belongs to Israel, not the Palestinian people. He also recognized the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. Still, it shakes up a misbelief that Trump would be an anti-war president. He condemned only the October 7th attacks on Tel Aviv and not the death of approximately 31,000 Palestinians, 70% of which are women and children. Yes. Well, perhaps if he had been in office, it would have never happened in the first place. Who can say? Yeah, because he was working pretty hard on that Abraham Accord peace thing going on over there. Okay, CNN reported this week that at least 20 people have died of starvation since the war broke out. The youngest one at a 1-day-old baby. And the rest of that is, that's a promotional for their advertisers. Bank of America issues U.S. dollar warning. The Bank of America used to be the Bank of Italy. They changed their name. Yeah, because I can understand why they changed their name. But It's true. Bank of America has issued a shocking warning about the U.S. dollar and the growing U.S. debt. The U.S. national debt is rising by $1 trillion every 100 days. Bank of America's chief strategist wrote in a note to clients seen by CNBC. He added that it's little wonder debt debasement trades are closing in on all-time highs, i.e. gold and Bitcoin. They're called debt debasement trades. That's an interesting phrase. Gold and Bitcoin are debt debasement trades, are closing in on all-time highs. Whoa, and who is going to rein that in? No one for the foreseeable future. Politics is busy finger-pointing one another, arguing about spending money on wars, and that is why Moody's lowered the ratings on U.S. government from stable to negative. See what's trending. The Castellos are trending because the trio female musicians are feminine, pretty, white, and talented, and some people hate that. Okay. Cookie Monster is trending because he said on X that his cookies are getting smaller due to shrinkflation. And see, Rooster Teeth is trending because Warner Brothers is shutting down the animation, comedy, and gaming studio after 21 years. They're shutting down something that I've never even heard of after 21 years. Wow. So absolutely means nothing to me, and maybe most people on the planet, likely. Or am I that out of touch? Let's see. Indian Wells is trending because the BNP Paribas tennis tournament is happening there this weekend, but star player Rafael Nadal has withdrawn due to injury. Okay, whatever. I don't watch tennis either, so not going to get excited. Let's see. By the numbers. 217. That is how many times a man in Germany says that he's received the COVID-19 vaccine. Researchers say he seems to be just fine. I think I saw this. But yeah. Or maybe I read this, perused it myself. And 14 million, that's how much Liberty University was ordered to pay as a fine for failing to comply with public safety laws. That's what I call cruel and unusual or excessive fines. Isn't that kind of against the law? This excessive fine. I hope they don't pay it, because if they pay it, that'll just encourage them to do more of the same. Yeah. And 29, that is the age of Cole Brower, the first U.S. woman to sail around the world alone. She was given her trophy this week in Spain. You can get a trophy for that, for being the first. Is there any firsts left? Anybody feel like sailing around the world? The first 12-year-old to sail around the world. And you know what they'll really have? The first tranny to sail around the world. The first man pretending to be a woman to sail around the world. So I should not surprised that, yeah, never mind. The San Francisco retreat. San Francisco surprised itself by passing 2 law and order ballot measures. Proposition F and E were voted in by over 60% support of the voters. See, the people have, the lawmakers are the ones that are destroying the country. But the people who have rights to put initiatives on the ballot, if they get so many signatures, so now the people are legislating from the ballot. It's because these lawmakers aren't doing their job. And what are they proving? They're proving we don't really need these lawmakers anyway. We could put everything on the ballot. Just get rid of the legislature. Get rid of them altogether. Yeah. Who needs them? All we're doing is paying them a lot of money to rip us off and line their pockets in the pockets of their friends. We should just do everything by ballot measure, by referendum. Yeah. Because see, and you know what happens if you have a referendum? We've all heard it before. California, before Obergefell, it was on the ballot. There was a referendum in California whether we should have gay marriage or not. Yes. And guess what the California voters voted? They voted it down handily. Then Obergefell came. And now that they've been practicing it for years, if you put it back on the ballot, people would vote for it. Because that's how evil works. Proposition F requires recipients of welfare money to test for drugs. And Proposition E expands police surveillance tools and allows police to use force without requiring written reports for every altercation. Both were supported by San Francisco Mayor London Breed. Yeah, these seem like moderate bills, but not when you consider how far San Francisco has gone to enable crime and drug use. One resident said this to the Wall Street Journal: the pendulum is swinging and it's coming back hardcore, back to the center. Seems I did read this part before once, or they added it back in again, that one part, because I hadn't read any of the rest of this before. Of course, I couldn't have, because some of it is about news. Yesterday. Yeah. All right. That's that. Let's see if we got any participation going on out here in the chat rooms. Blackbird says, "Oh, hi back at you, Shelley. One of these days, maybe I'll just figure out how to use this chat room." Good to see you, SMT. Sean is back in the chat room. Good to see everybody. What would you guys like to talk about? Anything. Throw me a topic. Meanwhile, I'll just have to look at something else. Oh, yes. I did get an email and for this movie Nefarious. And it says, click here to receive your license. So I looked at that. And it says, Gold Group, Nefarious license. Average group, size over 1,000. License, $299. This is to group watch something. And I guess they're selling these to churches to watch Nefarious in your church. And I watched this movie because you can watch it free on Amazon Prime. And it's a little scary, I have to admit. You know, there were a few times where, but I don't think, I can't imagine anyone watching this in a church. But Nefarious, speak of the devil. But I would suggest watching this movie if you don't believe in demon possession, or if you do. Yeah. And I wonder, is this based on a true story or not? That I don't know. But it's very well done. And anyway, like I said, you can watch it on Amazon Prime for free, because I went back to rent or buy. And then I clicked on Amazon. So it is on Amazon. They probably get paid by Amazon for people watching it, though. That's the way that works, because they have commercial before it. And but I don't think there was a interruption during the whole thing. But it was very interesting. Speaking of demon possession, this guy in prison's demon possessed. He claims to be demon possessed. And anyway, I found it very interesting. So do check it out if you have Amazon and you can take it. It's not, it's not really that scary, but it gives you pause to think about, demon possession and how it is a real thing. I believe it's a real thing myself. I've seen things that, when you see them, you can't unsee them. Right? So you might want to check that out if you have a notion to do that. Oh, let's see, what else do I got here? Oh yeah, it's called Interview. Is it Interview with the Devil? That's what it says. Oh, that's just a question mark, but nefarious is the name of the demon. It means something like we are nefarious, like Legion, too. So it was interesting. What else do we got here? Surviving and Thriving, Inspired Idiot of the Week. Okay, more commentary on the State of the Union from Sovereign Man here. Upon hearing the news, his heir and grandson, 19-year-old Louis, 16, reportedly cried out, "God protect us. I am too young to rule. I have learned nothing, and the universe will fall upon me." Wow. 19-year-old, huh? But the new young king did manage to make at least one very bold decision almost immediately. He appointed a controversial French economist named Turgot to head up the nation's finances. Everyone knew by 1774 that France was in serious trouble. The national debt had soared to a record high thanks to many years of war, extravagant spending, corruption, and blatant mismanagement. Yes, this is all leading up to the French Revolution era. Same kind of things going on here. Annual interest payments on the debt were becoming so vast that France had to borrow more money just to pay interest on the money they had already borrowed. Sound familiar, anyone? And lenders were becoming increasingly worried that the government would default. As a result, interest rates rose considerably. Investors who loaned money to the French government demanded rates as high as 12% to compensate themselves from the risk of potential default. Yeah, we're afraid you're going to default. We're going to have to charge you more money. Yeah, that kind of can cause default, can't it? Anyway, Louis XVI knew that this was completely unsustainable. Well, at least he knew something that Joe Biden doesn't know. And that France was headed for a major crisis if the government didn't take urgent action to reverse course. Well, here's the difference. They were using real money. They didn't have fiat usury money that was being loaned to them. They were being loaned real money, then gold and silver. Yeah. And that's why I hired Turgot, possibly the only person in the kingdom with the cojones to do what was necessary. It wasn't rocket science. He knew exactly what needed to be cut. It was obvious. By the early 1770s, the court at Versailles included the entire royal family, along with a whopping 886 aristocrat freeloaders, plus their wives and children. Add that number to the 295 cooks, 56 hunters, 47 musicians, plus various other secretaries, chaplains, physicians, and other entourage, plus thousands of guards to protect everyone. In total, the royal court had over 16,000 mouths to feed, not to mention the handsome salaries paid to all of these useless officials. The annual pensions alone, which were paid just to a handful of the king's closest friends, consumed more than 10% of the government's annual budget. Gee, sounds like the American government. Can't get nothing over on the French, can you? But on top of this, the blatant spending problem. France had also had a productivity problem, high taxes, excess regulation, and government price controls virtually eliminated any incentive to produce. Plus, businesses faced endless battles with the guilds, which were essentially the unions at that era. So when Turgot was charged with fixing the country's financial woes, he knew exactly what to do, and he sketched out his plan to the king the very night that he was appointed. In the present moment, I confine myself, sire, to call your recollection 3 ideas. No national bankruptcy, no increase of taxes, no new loans. To obtain these 3 points, there's but one method. that of reducing the expenditure. Turgot knew that the economy needed to become more productive, so he wasn't willing to raise taxes. He would cause a financial crisis. He wouldn't cause a financial crisis by defaulting on the debt. He certainly wasn't going to increase the debt by borrowing more money. The solution was obvious, and Turgot got to work almost immediately. With the king's support, he made deep cuts to the royal court. He also liberated trade and commerce by taking power away from the guilds, eliminating price controls, and reducing regulation. And it worked. By the end of 1775, Turgot had balanced the budget and restored France's creditworthiness such that he was able to refinance large portion of the French debt with foreign investors at a rate of just 4%. He turned everything around in just barely a year. I think that's happened in, is it Brazil or whatever South American country that is, that they just did that there too, by doing the same things. Maybe they learned something from this little bit of history. He turned everything around in just barely a year. Unfortunately for France, however, Turgot had made a lot of enemies. The nobles, the guilds, and even the church hated him. So on May 17th, 1776, the king gave in to pressure and fired Turgot. France then quickly resumed its decline. What a shame, and the rest is history. The larger point is that it is possible to turn a giant ship around. France was in dire straits when Turgot took over, but he managed to reverse course in a year. The U.S. is now at a similar point, though frankly much worse, as when Turgot took over the French finances. Yeah, like 50 times worse. France's budget deficit, 1774, was roughly 10% of total tax revenues, while the budget deficit in the U.S. last year was closer to 40%. Nevertheless, it's still possible for America to turn things around, and just like France in 1774, the answers are obvious. Turgot knew that every other government expenditure combined paled in comparison to France's #1 cost, the royal court. And we'll finish this when we get back from this short break. Don't go anywhere.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Arthur, and I'd like to introduce you to my latest book, Reformed Prophecy Interpretation, an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism in the 21st century. As with primitive biblical Christianity, historicism is the method of prophecy interpretation restored with the advent of the Protestant Reformation, and had become so widely held that for a long time it was called the Protestant view. My book is not so much about the errors of dispensationalism or amillennialism. Rather, it is about the historicist alternative to understanding many of the same passages from the vantage point of prophecy fulfilled in history. For those that desire more than mere hypotheses, bolstered with conjectured speculation, those who require explicit biblical exegesis and verified historical fulfillment, and are not willing to accept speculation as anything other than what it is. Speculation, not truth. This book is for you. Over the last century, this method of interpretation has become almost completely forgotten, even by Protestants, in the face of a method that is based almost entirely on future speculation, rather than fulfilled prophecy in history. In my book, I examine the reasons for this and investigate some of the prophecy which has been fulfilled in the interim, as well as present an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism to the 21st century. If you're interested in a copy of my book, you can go to my website, crosstheborder.org, and get more information there. Or you may also find it at Amazon. All right. Let's see. It's like checking out the chat room. Blackbird in the chat room says that she started reading Rulers of Evil. Very interesting. Yes, Tom Press reviewed the whole book, and it's playing on air right now for people who can listen while they work to things. You can listen. I think we have the playlist is still on YouTube, on our First Amendment Radio YouTube channel. If you want to get to or you go to my website. I have a tab there since it says Inquisition Update Archives. So I have the Inquisition Update Archives on my website, and you can find. Pretty sure you can find it there. Gee, where's that one at? Oh, it's just not populated yet. There it is. History of Romanism, the Ark and the Dove, Romanism, Tom Press, and Rulers of Evil. Yeah, there it is. Complete book. So, and Tom does with his commentary as he goes along, reads the entire book for you. And let's see how many, I think there's like 34 hours. Well, they're about 50 minutes each, but yeah. But 34 episodes of that. That is, if you can listen to things like if you do a lot of driving, spend time in your vehicle, you can listen to it there, and or if you can listen to stuff while you work. It's a good time to learn things or to have a book read to you if you can't read it yourself. So, but yeah, it is quite eye-opening. And I would suggest everyone either listen to Tom read it to you while you're working or driving or whatever you do when you're listening, and when you're able to listen, or read the book yourself, the PDF. And I showed you where to get that last night. But you get it by going to the Bible Study tab at my website here. And you see the Bible Study tab up there at the top. Yeah, right here. Whoops. Right there. And it's on that page in the lower right hand. The bottom link is to it. Anyway, let's get back and finish what we're talking about. All right, we left France in 1774 when when Turgot, who turned the country around by fixing the finances within a year, but he made a lot of enemies because a lot of people were getting money, free stuff. And they didn't like that being interrupted, so they got him pretty much taken out, and then they resumed their doom. And similarly, and just like France in 1977, Turgot knew that every other government expenditure combined paled in comparison to France's number one cost, the royal court. And that's basically what we have going on in Washington, D.C. And everybody's piling in and making money on everything. And that's why that's why you have to spend, how many $1,000, like $15,000 for a toilet seat in the U.S. government, things like that. Yeah. People are getting very rich. But similarly, everything else in the U.S. government budget combined pales in comparison to its number one cost, entitlement spending. Obviously, there's plenty of that fat to trim everywhere in the U.S. government. The Defense Department routinely wastes tens of billions of dollars, let alone the billions wasted in other departments. Yes, they waste billions upon billions of dollars. And while all those cuts would be helpful, they won't amount to anything unless the number one issue is tackled. I wonder what it could be. Entitlement spending, which includes Social Security, Medicare, and various welfare programs, which the government now politely calls income security, cost a whopping $3.75 trillion in fiscal 2023. This is the obvious place to start. I agree. I'm not collecting any of those things. Yeah. And I'm doing it on purpose. I'm purposely not collecting Social Security, Medicare, or any welfare programs, any income security. Nope. And so, and I suggest that if this is the only place they can cut, yeah. And the amount, I'm not sure. Well, that's $3.75 trillion. They're borrowing another trillion. The debt is going up by another trillion every 100 days now. That's crazy. But Joe Biden made it clear last night's State of the Union that he has absolutely no intention of doing that, cutting the debt, or doing anything, whatever it takes to cut the debt. Whether it's entitlement spending, that's like death to a politician, to suggest that you're going to cut the gravy train for all the people. A lot of people, well, I paid into that. I deserve it. But if you knew what you were really paying into, because you were deceived into thinking that it was a, what do you call it, a pension plan, which it is not. Right? It's not even a pretend pension plan, at least as far as I know. I read many, many years ago that it was not a pension plan. And they make you pay into it, right? No, they don't. You volunteered. But someone volunteered me when I was a teenager. And when I got a job, I went out and worked, and I was already taking it from me. You never questioned it. You never questioned the relationship. It's unconstitutional. Didn't you read your Constitution? It's unconstitutional for the federal government to tax the individual. But if you volunteer, it's a whole different story. And if your parents volunteer you, and you grow up, and you accept the contract, and never question it, never call it out, and say, do I really want to do this? Then you accept the contract by, I forget what they call the term, but by acquiescence. You acquiesce to it, and it becomes a de facto contract because you've agreed to it, and and they have a reasonable expectation that you will continue, and they can throw you in jail now if you discontinue. Isn't that amazing? There's no law. You're not required to. It's unconstitutional. But you can do unconstitutional things. You can volunteer to do anything you want. You know, if it says like the Second Amendment, it shall not be infringed. Well, they don't have the right to do that. But if you volunteer to go along with it, then I think that the American people should stop volunteering. Myself, I think you should read the law, you know, get up to speed on it. Say, well, I was defrauded, I was deceived. And you have like 3 years when you discover the fraud, you have 3 years to act upon it or file a lawsuit or whatever. But if you continue, then you have no room to complain or do anything about it. Or if you wait too long. So anyway, he could have been honest. He could have leveled with the voters that there's almost no chance of balancing the budget without obvious entitlement reform. And that failing to balance the budget will result in existential financial crisis. Of course, he can't do that because he's bringing more people into the country and putting them on the welfare state. So you can't tell the people out there that are on the welfare state that I'm going to cut your welfare or your social security or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to pretend it is, okay, by law. And in fact, it is welfare. And he's not going to cut your welfare if he just brought 10 million people into the country in the last 3.5 years and put them all on welfare. And they get more than you. They collect more than you do. Yes, they're costing a lot more. They get free plane trips from other countries now to wherever they want to go in the United States. Pick a state. Here's your list, 12 airports we can dump you at. And here's your $5,000 gift card. Good luck. Oh, here's your cell phone, too. We want to keep track of you because we want to know where you are so you can vote for us. See, at a minimum, he could have said nothing, but instead he specifically ruled out entitlement reform for the second year in a row and explicitly said, if anyone here tries to cut Social Security or Medicare or raise the retirement age, I will stop them. Now, Joe Biden may think that he's doing the right thing, but this is classic inspired idiocy. Inspired idiots always think of themselves as righteous. Unfortunately, they're completely misguided and almost always wrong. They understand nothing, but they're really passionate about it. And that's the danger. The good news is that while the inspired idiots in charge keep steering the country directly into the crisis, individuals can take rational steps to mitigate the worst consequences and potentially even benefit from the opportunities that arise. Yes, that's why it's so important, he says, to have clear understanding of these obvious risks and to have a plan B. Like having a bug out plan, but a plan B, like silver and gold, at least. Some food put away. Way to charge your batteries and a way to get water if the electricity goes down. And all those things. But that was the sovereign man's take on the State of the Union. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see if we got any comments or questions in the chat room. It says, hi, Shelley. Nicholas said, Nefarious is a movie on Amazon Prime. If I heard correctly, that's true. It is on Amazon Prime. So you can watch it for free on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime. But yeah, if you check out their website, let's see, the website here is, no, I don't know what the website is. I'm sure you can look up Nefarious movie and find out if it's on anywhere else. They did show a commercial before it on Amazon to help pay for it, or to help pay them for it, I guess. That was because you can also rent it or whatever. You know how things work these days. Let's see, what else do we got here? Started reading Rulers of Evil, Ash Wednesday, Nick, and Lent. Talk about it. Are they pagan activities? Well, you know, I really don't know anything about Ash Wednesday and Lent. But I don't find anything in the Bible, and I've read the whole book. I didn't find any Ash Wednesday or Lent in there, so I pretty much think that's a Catholic thing. So there's probably some idolatry stuff mixed up in there. So Ash Wednesday and Lent, yeah. Have no clue whatsoever. It's been a long time since I was a Catholic, because I became a real Christian, and when I started reading the Bible when I was 19, and I never went to a Catholic church after that. Have I been into a Catholic church ever since then? Nope. I'm just thinking, have I stepped my foot into a Catholic church since I was a teenager? And I don't think that's happened. It happened once. Nope, not once. Yeah, no. I've gone to a church in town here that's across the street from the newest Catholic church in the town near me. That's as close as I get to a Catholic church. And I know where both of the Catholic churches are in that small town. But I don't think I've ever been in either one of them. Yeah, so, yeah. See, I read they are. Yeah. So I'm not, yeah. Never had an any reason to look into it. So anyway, sorry can't help you out on that, Bob, on what Ash Wednesday and Lent are about. Okay. Well, that's all I got. No comments. Let me see. See, we got nothing in the Rumble chat room. Okay. Well, time is just moving along here. See what else I have here. Okay. I thought I had some other stuff up here. But, okay, let's see, we got Samaritan Ministries. All right, a biblical solution to healthcare. Some of you might be interested in this. Your name and where you're calling from? Oh, we got a ring but no call. So that was a one ring and hang up thing. Okay. Let's see, a biblical health solution to healthcare from Samaritan Ministries. Monday morning, the day of cash, she sat in a waiting room. The preliminary results came in, almost certain it's cancer. Ooh, yeah. I guess they have a member, as a Samaritan member and cash pay patient, she quickly moved through the diagnostic stage. And so I guess instead of insurance, you have these share health programs. So if you're into that, you feel like you need that kind of thing, then I would suggest that you check those out. So there's one through Samaritan Ministries. And Samaritan Ministries, that's Franklin Graham's ministry. But really, what makes Samaritan Ministries a good thing is the volunteers everywhere. And because I know when they showed up in California, when they show up, all those people are volunteers. And the Samaritan Ministries coordinates the efforts on what they're doing. And it looks like they're doing something about self-insurance. So for people that want to help others and have some peace of mind about the unaffordable health thing today, that might be something you might want to look into. It says there are 80,000 Christian households across the nation sharing $30 million in medical needs each month. Healthcare sharing with Samaritan Ministries is working for them, and it could work for you too. It's affordable. There are no networks, and you can join any time of the year, even today. So there you go. Something if you're interested in having healthcare coverage without expensive insurance. And the coordinators of these things usually take the bills, they okay them or whatever that people, when they have a need, and then they just part it out to the 80,000 people out there. And the more people they get, the less it costs per person. But it's much cheaper than insurance, and nobody's making billions in profits off of it. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine that. Insurance companies are there for profits. They don't help with your health care costs at all. That's why they cost so much more. I know. I've seen some people's health care bills, and people are compelled to have them by law under certain circumstances, and the costs are just exorbitant. Because, of course, they have to pay for all the abortions and all the transgender schemes and all of the people that don't care for their health. And, yes, a lot of hypochondriacs that are on this, and then all of the government workers that are part of it, too. Yeah, got to pay for all of that through these health insurance companies. And like I said, they're just exorbitant. So, and I think Generations, we have them on First Amendment Radio. They know of another one that it's not Samaritan Ministries, but it's another medical share Christian program. And we're talking about the Bible and what the Bible says about that. And so you might want to pay attention to this. See, I believe it's Proverbs chapter 2. Can you believe the Bible talks about something like this? Yeah. Let's see. Maybe I think it may be chapter 1. Oh, yes, it is. It says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Okay, wait a minute, that's not it. Oh, it says, if they say, cast in thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. Well, that's what insurance companies are. If you're casting in your lot with unbelievers, because it says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. And if they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. And that's a perfect description of welfare and social security and government-sponsored health program, because it takes true charity and abolishes it, and then it allows people to go privately from the people that are giving and seek the money from the government instead. That way they don't have to face the people that are giving, and the people that are giving don't know where their money goes, plus the government. And Jesus talked about that too. He talked about, the Gentiles, how they lord it over you, how they, I forget the wording, but it'll come to me. I can't quite get it right now, but it'll come to me. But it says, let us swallow them up alive as the grave and as whole as those who go down into the pit. But see, you're swallowing up their life alive, because when you labor, you're laboring with your life. And they're taking your life from you when they rob you with taxes and make you pay into things, especially things that are unconscionable, like abortion, murder, and gender transitioning services for children, and a lot of other things that you would never pay for, you find unconscionable. And that's another reason why we're not to have one purse with the ungodly, because they're going to use the money for ungodly and evil things. When they say, we shall find all precious substance, we shall fill our houses with spoil. And that's what the ones that take advantage of they're doing. They get rich. Okay? Cast in thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. So you now add your money to theirs, and then they have their agents that redistribute the wealth of the people for them. They take care of the poor, they take care of the needy, they take care of the infirm, all the while, because they have these hundreds of millions and billions of dollars going through their hands. Of course, they deserve, to be rich, all that money they're handling. And plus they can allocate it to evil things like abortion and murder and wars and things that you would never, with a good conscience, pay for. So when they say, cast in your lot among us, let us all have one purse, what does it say? He says, my son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. Perfect description of communism and socialism, is it not? Yes, and even insurance, because it is mandated insurance. You must buy it now. And that goes for auto insurance too. Okay, time for me to take a break. I'll be back in a few minutes.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager, Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Welcome back. I was checking out the chat room, and Blackbird in the chat room says, as stay-at-home wife and mother, I had a pension that helped me. And no, pension is not the same thing as welfare. Pension is always a pension. And that's something that's paid into between people that work in certain trades, or they have private pension plans too. It's not the government, and it's not welfare. At least it shouldn't be. So I don't think that we're talking about pensions here. And especially if your husband was killed on the job, yeah, that would be some kind of remuneration for that loss would be right, I would think. Yes, back in '82 in a mining accident. Jesuit Fiend says, I tire of men being recipient of varying grotesque of death every turn century on. Okay, whatever. I don't know what that means, but such is our curse. Sorrowfully. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not what I'm talking about here at all. We're talking about socialism and the takeover of charity. And we're talking about the government taking over charity and taking it away from the people and the churches. And that's wrong. People should make their own plans, their own pension plans, instead of Socialist Security, because Socialist Security guarantees you nothing except that they keep threatening that it's going to run out of money. They have an obligation, but they can change the law anytime they want, unlike a pension where you can't change it. But a lot of pension plans have been ripped off by corporations and by the governments too. Plus, the way the government rips off your pension plan is by inflating the currency. So to make your pension plan worse, they're taxing you by inflation. So they're ripping you off that way too. But it's not the same thing as welfare. And because that money is specific for one purpose, that's to support the families of those who qualify for the pensions. That's a different kind of thing. You could even make a biblical case for it. Let's see. Oh, yes, we're talking about Proverbs, where it says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. In other words, because charity is open, okay? When someone needs charity, they have to go and ask for it. And that should be something they should have to ask for, okay? And then you know who they're getting their money. You know who's giving it to you. You know who you're getting it from, okay? And you know that it's true charity because the person is really giving, not to the government. The government isn't taking the money away from the persons. And we'll get to that, what Jesus said about it. Cast in your lot among us, let us all have one purse. This is about socialism. Okay? My son, walk not thou in the way with them, refrain thy foot from their path. And he says, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. And that's what they're doing with the money. They're doing evil. They're shedding blood with that money. How fitting. Okay? But he says, surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, meaning that it should be that plain to us. If any bird can see the trap that spread before it in its sight, okay, we should be able to see the trap that has been set for us so that we're without excuse. It says, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. So are the ways of every one that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. And that's what when they talk about redistribution of wealth in socialism, that's what this Proverbs chapter 1 is talking about. And Jesus did say something about that. I remembered the verse, and so I brought it up here during the break. And Jesus, there's strife among the disciples, and it counted which should be the greatest, right? They began to inquire among themselves which of them it was that should do this thing. Talking about betrayal, and also strife among them, which of them would be counted the greatest. See, the disciples were just ordinary people like us. They had faults and everything. They're fine. Oh no, I'm going to be greater than you, and it's not me, or whatever. Yeah. And here's what Jesus says to him. He says, the kings of the Gentiles, okay? Now here the Gentiles refers to the other nations of the world. This isn't a Jew-Gentile thing. In this case, he is comparing the other nations to his holy nation, the church, right? In the context here, the Gentiles is everyone else, and the church is the opposing nation there, okay? It says, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them. And this has been seen throughout history. It's being seen today. And they that exercise authority upon them are called benefactors. They're called benefactors. He didn't say they are benefactors. He says they are called benefactors. That means they pretend to be benefactors. They're fake benefactors. They're deceptive benefactors. Okay? Because they benefit more than anyone else. But they are benefactors in that they take money from some people and they redistribute it to others. So they become benefactors to those that they redistribute the wealth to. It's like that guy that asked the other day about secession, Texas seceding. He says, will I still be able to collect my Socialist Security? That's all he was worried about. Will I still get my bennies, man? If I can't get my Socialist Security, then I don't want to secede from the Union. Right? And now listen what Jesus says. He says, but ye shall not be so. But he that is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he that is the chief, as he that doth serve. But there it is. He says they're called. And that reminds me, I remember Teddy Kennedy. How many of you remember Teddy Kennedy? Yeah, Teddy Kennedy died. Yeah, he's the dead man now. And he is likely rotting in the grave. waiting for the second resurrection. Not really waiting, but yeah. And he's going to wake up one day and he's going to stand before the judge. And that's, but anyway, they had a eulogy in Congress in Washington, D.C. and they just got up there and they talked about all the great things that Teddy Kennedy did. What a generous man he was. He was one of these that are called benefactors because he loved to redistribute the people's money. He was so generous. Well, it's easy to be generous with other people's money, is it not? Try being generous with your own money, and there's the difficulty. So no, he was called a benefactor. So many people look to him. And this is what Joe Biden is doing, forgiving all these people's debt and stuff. He's one of these people that Jesus is talking about here that are called benefactors. Want to give money to the Ukraine. And they want to give money to Israel. They're all benefactors. Oh, we must help them. They just gave $1 million to Georgetown University. Yeah. Benefactors. They're called benefactors because none of them are reaching into their own pocket. No, they're not. And taking the money out and giving it away. There's no charity there. They're giving, making their friends and their family rich, making their family and their friends buy the right stocks because they have the insider information, or they get the contracts for those, $15,000 toilet seats. Make a lot of money on toilet seats at whatever, $1,000 or $10,000 a pop, and all along the way, hands are getting greased. That's right, all along the way. That's what it's all about. That's what's going on. And you wonder why the world is going to hell in a handbasket. America's falling so fast because so many people are being paid off with fiat usury money by the multitude of thy merchandise. They have filled the midst of thee with violence. And that could only be done. Those words could only be fulfilled through fiat usury money. Yes, if they had to use real money, then nations would really go broke. And they couldn't spend money out of thin air like they're doing. Okay. Let's see. Such as our, but it's wrong to accept old age pension and Canada pension I received upon turning 65. I have no idea. I don't know anything about Canada's pension. Is it socialism? Yeah. I can't tell you what's wrong for you, honestly. I know I would never, if the Socialist Security contract were presented to each one of us on an individual basis before we participated in it, how many people would sign it? Okay? That's the question. See, they've used deception. Satan has used deception to get people into these things. But if they laid out the contract before you and it said, declare yourself non-compos mentis, mentally incompetent to manage your own affairs when you get old, or in case you get sick, or in case something happens or whatever, you have a hard time. And to do this, and when you sign this contract, then we have the right to send you an inquisition. You have to fill out an inquisition form every month and notify us of all the money you make. And plus that, we get to take the first cut out of your paycheck every week. This is all in the contract, okay? And when you get old, we'll give you some money. We don't know how much it'll be, and we're not even sure that it will be there, and we can change the contract on our side anytime we want, and we can change the amount of money you have to pay anytime you want. Okay, this is the Social Security contract. It's probably the same contract in Canada, pretty much the same one. Would you sign that contract? If they came to you when you got your first job, when you were 18 years old and you went out and you got your first job, and they say, well, here's a contract. Do you accept? You know what most people would say? No. This says you're going to collect from me, 15% of my income every year on top of taxes. Okay. 7 or 8% for me and 7 or 8% from my employer. Instead of me getting that, if I took that same money and I put it in a bank account or bought silver and gold with it, I would be better off. And then when I die, my heirs would get everything instead of only my surviving heirs get it as long as they survive. And likely you'll be dead before you collect it, because I think most people die. What is the average age of death in America? I don't know what it is, but I know it's going down right now. They're pushing it down as hard as they can. Yeah. So is it wrong? You're in it, you're using it. See if you can find a way out, because they might write out of money anytime. They can change the contract at any time. I wouldn't count on it. I turned 70 last year, and I haven't collected a dime yet. And I'm not sorry at all. And I hope to live to be 105 and still not be sorry all that time that I refused to participate. Of course, I refused. I withdrew from the contract back in the 1990s. As soon as I found out what it was, I said, I don't want it. I don't want any part of this. But, the question is, if they offered you the contract, you would refuse it. But they didn't offer it to you. They grandfathered you into it, or whatever they would call that. When you grow up and you just accept it. Everyone says, oh, this is what you have to do. You get a job, you go to get a number, and you have to sign these forms telling them, that they can have part of your money, because that's why you have to sign the forms. You're giving them permission to withhold the money every month. It's a contract, because if it were forced on you in America, it would be unconstitutional. That's the truth. Social Security is unconstitutional, because they can't force it on anybody. It's a free country. You don't have to participate. And that's what I would tell all the young people, don't participate in it. It's voluntary. And it don't even look like we're going to have $1 by the time these young people get my age. Are they going to have $1? Yeah. Is there going to be anything? And half of the pension plans, and I've noticed that pension plans have been disappearing and diminishing, where people are getting pennies on the dollar. If some people have lost their pensions completely. But don't worry, they have Social Security to back them up. And I know there are people who collect Social Security and pensions. They're going to eliminate the double dipping. If you have a pension, that's going to come. That'll be the first thing to go. That's already been talked about for years. If you already have a pension plan, they're going to means test Social Security. That's the first thing to go. And it will go. It has to. It's not sustainable. We're going to end up with going broke. But don't worry, the Antichrist has a plan for a one world monetary system. So if all the currencies of the world crash, it will be a further step toward what he really wants. Your obedience and your worship for everything you do. And they've been demonstrating that, as they're demonstrating in China with your social credit score will be tied to your bank account, how you spend your money, whether you spend your money, how much money you get, how much time do you have to spend your money, what you get to spend it on. They're practicing it right now. This is what the Antichrist wants in the whole world. And I would not want to be in a position where I'm totally dependent on the government. That much I'll tell you. So if you're getting enough money a month that you can buy $50 worth of silver a month or something like that to put something away, and hope that you can have some enough to at least get you on for a little while when they cut you off. There's going to be a point, I think, it's possible, it probably will be a point where you won't be able to beg just for being a Christian. The Bible talks about the mark of the beast monetary system and not being able to buy or sell. We see all that coming with CBDC. Now, I heard Donald Trump say once that he was against CBDC, but is he really? I don't know. Look what he did do in his last year as president. Everything he did good, he undid and did something worse that certainly wasn't worth all the good he did. If he had done nothing and at all, it would have been better than reversing everything good that he did in his final year. That's why I don't really care who the president is. I don't want to see Joe Biden or any Democrat. So it's between, for me, it's between Kennedy and Trump. I don't know which one I trust more. I think maybe I trust Kennedy more, honestly, because at least he isn't pretending to be something he's not, and he's no Joe Biden either. But he is what I think they're both what they are. Neither of them are pretending to be something they're not. I mean, they seem obviously what they are to me. If anyone's fooled into thinking they're something they're not, then they're not seeing what's obvious, right? Anybody with me on that? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what else I got, and I am running out of time. Well, thank everybody for showing up today. You've been listening to me. I'm Nicholas Arthur, and this is Far Out with me, Nick at Night. And I'm going to be here most every night of the week until I'm not. At least that's the plan. What kind of plan is that? It's just a hangout, something to do, and I feel like, and it gives me a chance to read some of the news and go through it, and something to do. And instead of spending lonely nights alone watching Netflix or just sitting by myself reading a book, which I do like to do that. Since I'm widowed and don't really, like, my daughter's out with her friends. My only child left at home. She's 23, my youngest daughter from my last marriage. My grandchildren, I get to see them all during the week sometime. My middle granddaughter's moved on to the ranch here, so I get to see her more often, so I count myself fortunate for that. God has blessed. I'm very happy He's treated me well. And to top it all off, when I'm done here doing whatever I can do for Him and His kingdom, I get the best pension plan of all. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the retirement plan is not really a retirement plan because I'm not going to retire. I'm going to work in His government for 1,000 years. And I love working. It's nice if you like what you're doing. And sometimes work is tedious and monotonous. There's always that part of it. But that's just part of the thing, You know the thing? That's just part of it. But you got to get some enjoyment out of it somehow, or some enjoyment out of your life somehow to make it more bearable. So I hope you all are finding something to make your life worthwhile. But without Christ, I don't know how people live without Jesus. I can't imagine it. A life without Christ would be not worth living. Yeah. To have no hope for eternity. I mean, knowing you're just going to die someday and not knowing what, or I know people that don't care. They don't want to think about, they just want to think about pleasant things and stuff like that. I've heard people say that to my face, talk about the gospel. No, I'm not religious. I just want to think about pleasant things. I don't want to think about all the bad things going on in the world. Oh, okay, well, hope that works out for you. Well, but not really. I hope you come to your senses, but, I don't know who's elect and who's not. Some people, it's obvious that they're part of the elect because they have a lifetime of fruit that has put it on display that they're one of God's people. So, and I just pray and I hope that every one of you are. I mean, I guess you wouldn't be here if you weren't. Most of you anyway. Well, not very many of you. Anyway, I heard my little tone there. And so I'm running out of time and I'm running out of gas too. Yeah. So make sure you go to my website and follow if you haven't. Share the things there, the posts and whatever you can to help us out. If you come across an extra $1,000 or an extra $1 million, send some to me. We really need it. Could put it to good works. All right. May the Almighty bless you and keep you as you travel on the narrow way that leads to life. I'll see you next time. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight,